I'm here with Peter Wack, who is the police chief in the town of Sandwich, and we're going to discuss a little bit about school safety today in light of what happened in Newtown, Connecticut. And I'd also like everybody to understand that Chief Wack was also a state trooper in Connecticut for a while and is familiar with the area where this happened and draws some parallels to that place and Sandwich. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Randy.
Tell us a little bit about what you did in Connecticut and that you apparently were pretty close to where this town is.
Right. I, for 20 years, was a Connecticut state trooper, and I went through the ranks to a lieutenant. But while I was a sergeant, I was stationed out of the Troop A in Southbury Barracks, and the town of Southbury has a police department which is run by a resident state police sergeant. So that was my assignment. And Southbury is a couple towns over, just further west from Newtown, and it resembles Sandwich in a lot of ways.
So when you heard the news about what happened in Newtown, quickly a connection comes up with the type of town and relatively small community. I think there are 27,000. We have about 22,000 people here. What have we done to help secure the schools, and where are we going to try and beef that up some?
Well, in 2006, October 2006, the town established a school safety committee, which involved membership from the schools, the police department, fire department, town offices, and the community. And that was developed so they could look into the safety measures that are in place for the students and faculty. And at that time, they looked at all the different best practices and protocols that were in place and developed new ones. A comprehensive safety manual was put together. Different technologies and efforts were put in place at that time. Since I've come to town in 2010, we've done a lot of work. I know that a lot of work was done before I came, but we've done a lot of work where we now have some very, very good protocols in place, some good locking systems in place. Visitors have to go through a very specific regimen to get into the building, and a lot of great efforts have been put forward by this committee.
And are these procedures, in case of an incident, practiced?
Yes. While these procedures are in place every day of the week, they are also practiced. So the schools do lockdown and they do evacuation drills on a regular basis, all 4 schools in town each year.
Now, we had the benefit of having Walter Lesiak here, who was very involved in studying what happened in Columbine in Colorado. And he was part of that initial committee that kind of helped us move forward. So we are where we are now, which is that we've upgraded our systems. We have people alerted. They practice these exercises for lockdown. And we have one school resource officer who is at the high school. But tell me a little bit about school resource officers and where you would like to see that go.
Well, initially, years ago, Sandwich had one school resource officer, and in the 1990s, the COPS grants were developed, and Sandwich took advantage of that grant, which allowed us to expand to 3 school resource officers. As the funding ran out, the number went back to 1, so we presently have today 1 school resource officer. But a school resource officer does a lot of things for the school system. It's more than just a uniform presence within the school, which definitely does deter crime. Our school resource officers involved with teaching in the classrooms. They're directly involved with different types of situations which happen with students, faculty, and parents, as well as responding to medical situations and training with the staff.
There is also that rapport that comes along with having a school resource officer, and a lot of people argue that having a school resource officer at the elementary, the K through 8s, is also beneficial along that line to make sure that kids understand that policemen are there for them. And in fact, I think that over the years when we had school resource officers, a lot of things could have happened, except that the kids had trust in them and were able to come forward and say, hey, look, something's going on here.
Well, when we look back at the DARE program, that was where police officers taught in the 5th grade, And we found that not only were they an extremely positive role model, but their involvement with the kids really helped them as they moved up. Having been involved in that program myself years ago, I saw the success in it.
So what do we need to do going forward? Is there something that we have learned or might learn from Newtown, Connecticut that would inform how we're going to change what we're doing now?
I'd say in the coming months we're going to be provided with more information as far as what occurred and what best practices can be put in place. But what are we doing here in Sandwich? We are, for the time being, we've increased our presence at the schools. We definitely have a uniform presence at the high school with a marked car, but we're also going to be looking at technologies. We have not only the school safety committee, but we have a group that meets with the superintendent on a regular basis, myself and Chief Russell from the fire department, and we've been looking at technology which can be used to connect the school buildings to our first responder vehicles as well.
I'll finish out by saying I believe it's the case that no mass murder has happened at a school that has an SRO officer on staff or on site every day. And so would you be in favor of being able to put one at each of the 4 schools rather than just having one at the high school?
Absolutely. I think as we move forward, I definitely would recommend that each one of our 4 schools has a school resource officer. It's definitely a position which the school is comfortable with, works very well with the students as well as the staff, and would provide that uniform presence to deter any type of violence from occurring in our schools. It's not a save-all, but it definitely is a step in the right direction.
I think that it actually dovetails well with the fact that we have a summer season where many, many more people come in, and those school resource officers during the summer, when they're not at the schools, you could probably use the extra staff to deal with the influx of people on vacation.
That's absolutely what we do with them, put them back to patrol.
Thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Randy.